Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel and thank you for taking the time to watch my video. Yeah. Oh, by the way, this is a mail that I received from NGO, an association for African Association, NGO, who really care about students, okay, for children in rural place to go to school in Burkina Faso. And I am a member of this association, Invite Joy. Invite Joy is also in America here. So if you want to sponsor a child, you can also, if you want to sponsor a child, an African child, in Burkina Faso precisely, you can really connect with the NGO online. They have a website. We have a website actually, and it's about sponsoring a child to go to school. You know how important it is to go to school for children in villages, but they don't really have option to go to school because the parents don't have any money to send them to school. Sponsoring a child will be very interesting in helping this parent, to send them to school here at Invite Joy Burkina Faso. I put the link right below, so if you're interested to sponsor a child, this is a good place to be. Okay? Anyway, I want to tell a story. It's my story in a way, and it's about my conflict with mathematics when I was young, to the point where it followed me in my year in university in America. Okay, so there was something I had with mathematics when I was really young in high school. I hate and I dislike mathematics, and for a long time I didn't know why, until one day I was face to face in a situation with mathematics, and that's when I confront the situation and I understood the reason why I had this problem with mathematics. When I was young, my parent, especially my father, was a person, because he's no longer, was a person, that many African, that African parents like their children to be science, okay? Most of the African parents want their children to be in science, most of them. So my father was among this kind of parent. He wanted us to be all scientists, like in science, mathematics, chemistry, physics, stuff like that. My father was not really into biology. He wasn't really into it. He was really like in hard science. He wanted us all to be in hard science. My sister did, my brother did, my two brothers did, but one of them actually, who also became later an engineer, when he was in high school, the teacher in high school told my dad that he was good in literature, and my father said, no, I want him to be in science. My father was the kind of person who would come and see teachers and talk to them about the grades. And as if you watch my other video, I say that I was sent with my brothers abroad to another African country where I studied in high school. And what happened is my dad would, because of his job, he was traveling often, but he will have time. My father was the kind of person who would have time to call, calling, okay, the school to know what is happening, our grades, and sometimes he will just come. If you have an opportunity to come, he will be coming. He will be coming, and I will do everything, okay, except that I was very limited. I wasn't forcing a lot in mathematics, and I would just do the minimum if I had to. And I even remember one day when I was in high school, I went back home And what happened is I went back home, but I was really into literature. There was nothing my father could do to make me. I mean, I had basic knowledge in math, even at home, my father would bring books because I see on the internet we had many books at home. It was not only book for reading, but it was also books to study. It was like my dad. Okay, you had bacterial books from school, but you also have other books to get to know, to understand chapters better, And it was like that every time. And I wasn't really into mathematics at all. I would do I remember we had a book for experiment that you can do at home. Like, for example, you do simple experiment like you have lemon juice or vinegar, you use it to write a letter on the piece of white papers, and then you put the candle on above the light of the candle, and then you see the way all your script, what you write, it will appear on the white paper. Experience like that. I was doing that at home just for fun, but I wasn't a person who was really into it. Like, for example, they were telling you take an ice cube, okay, and put some salt on it and take a thread, and the ice cube will stuck the thread, and you could balance your ice cube on the thread because of the salt, and things like that. I mean, when you are into science, you are very interested in it. And I didn't search no more. It was just experiment I was doing at home. I would be sometimes dangerous at times, not completely, because if you use something like a fire, no supervised, it could be dangerous. But we are in Africa, So yeah, I was doing that, but not searching to know the why, because those who are in science usually they say why. I didn't have it. But if you are taking me in literature, if you are taking me in books in literature, you're taking me to books, philosophy, books in author, books, languages. I was good in languages, because I was good in Spanish at the time and in English at the time, for basic English, because we study English writing. We don't perform English a lot because it wasn't an English country, obviously, not even a Spanish country. But the fact that you go to school and you study that, you see the grade doing good at the time was good for me. I could do presentation in Spanish in my high school, in my classroom. That's why we were taught, we learn. In my country, in French African, I don't know how it is. I think it's the same thing in English African as well. School, you have what you call the high school diploma, like everywhere else. But our high school diploma in Africa, I really think that it's tough. Why? Because the way to organize it will really blow your mind. I mean, so at some point you feel like your brain is gonna explode, because what happened is, for high school diploma, you have to remember most of the chapter that you study, the class before the last class where you're going to take your high school diploma. And usually you have history, we study World War I and II, the period between the war. You study the Soviet Union, you study Yom Kippur, you study the Berlin. You have to learn all this, how the Soviet Union falling apart and all this. We learn a little bit of the Bolshevik revolutions. I think I remember you study a little bit of America. Yeah, we study with the geography of America. We studied it. I mean, I think we study most of the things. We study a little bit of we have a knowledge, not a big knowledge, but a knowledge of the Vietnam War. You understand the causes, and in a way, and how, like the fall of Saigon, all that, you learn it in high school, so you have to remember all that, okay? I don't know why we study other countries' history. I've never understood it, okay? But it is what it is. In my country, that's what we study. Then you study all that. And after that, geography, you have to study geography of Africa, and you have to know Africa, the different type. You have to know the deserts, all the desert, all this, the geography, how the Africa is, the position, countries, and a little bit of knowledge how the vegetation, you say, in Africa. We study that. Then you also study languages. Okay, you have English, Spanish, and French, of course. But when you study, it's not only speaking. You have to know the grammar, the orthography, the vocabulary, and all that, which was a complete study in school. You go to high school diploma. Then you study as well mathematics. And I was surprised to see that, for example, in America, they study college algebra in university. But in Africa, you already start college algebra in high school. Okay, most of the things that they do the first year in university, I think, in America, we already saw it in Africa in high school. So it's kind of very challenging. So imagine all that. Then you have chemistry, like Archimedes, push, all this. You have to learn that, even the E equal mc square of Einstein, I think. You study that in high school, okay? I think maybe many countries, you understand what I mean by that. But we had so much for us. And that's when I realized that, because even in philosophy, we study, you have books in philosophy that you study, right, in high school. Like, for example, when you start studying our first book of introduction for philosophy, our first introduction to philosophy is the book of the Apology of Socrates. Then you study a little bit more about Socrates, then you enter, then they introduce you to Plato, the Republic of Plato, the big book, the Republic of Plato. And then later on you are introduced to other philosophers like Blaise Pascal, Jean-Jacques Rousseau. You have the Contrat Social. You are introduced to Jean-Paul Sartre. You are introduced to other type of philosophers, Sigmund Freud, etc., etc. Okay, that's now. They don't ask you to do that, but when you are curious, now you go to read more in philosophy. And I was really interested by this kind of books of philosophy, and I was really into literature and languages. My father was like, he didn't want it. He wants somebody who was good in science. I wasn't a person of science at all, and I kept telling him that I don't think. He said, no, it's just a decision. I say, no, I just don't think that I have the capacity to be a science person. And actually, I think it's true. There are people who have this capacity to be science. In mathematics, for example, they have the logical way they do stuff. It's different than someone who is very logical in literature or everything that is in arts and literature, okay? So it's completely different things. A person who is in science has another way. I think the brain works differently. That's my understanding. But one thing is sure, and from my experience of school in my country, there is something I understood, because the way when we prepare high school diploma is crazy. And the days before the high school diploma, you have a few weeks of break from high school, the days of high school. You have a period of time when you prepare for the high school diploma. That's where we are pumping, like really reading, studying, practicing, mathematics, everything. You have to be ready. This discipline are waiting for you for the high school diploma. That's when I realized that the brain is really a muscle, because the brain can contain so much. That's why when I think about it, that's why I usually compare the brain to the computer. And I truly believe that the brain is even more than computer, because the way that brain can stock stuff, is extraordinary. Okay, you can get knowledge and you store that in your brain, and this knowledge can come back later to you. The brain is something that God created. This is the genius of God. Seriously, the brain of human brain is a very genuine. This is something that God created, that I think is extraordinary. And I understand why when sometimes some teachers, some educators recommend parents to make children to read, and even when they're in high school to read and to discover more, because this is the time when there are children to absorb, because the children, I think, this is my understanding according to my own experience, I think children brain are like sponge. They can take a maximum when they're young. It's like it becomes like elastic, like it's really a muscle. This is the capacity that we take into the capacity. Okay, most of the knowledge that I have today are from most of the knowledge I have today is from my time of teenagers, because that was the time I was reading a lot.